Drivers, Rick with Smart Drive Test, talking to you tonight about 8 reasons you would fail a road test, not in any particular order. And as well, we're going to talk about the reopenings of the DMVs. In some states, they're still closed. They remain closed. Other states are doing commercial testing, and then another one is doing closed circuit testing. So you have a whole bunch of different things we can talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about all of that. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Chris is here from Long Island, New York, in the Big Apple, and Samantha's here from Colorado. Neptune, greetings from Maine, and Joe is here, my friend, and Eric is here from Minnesota. A couple people from Minnesota. Nina's tuning in from Georgia. Carrie and Katie are both here. So excellent, and we are getting going with what's happening with COVID-19 and the reopening, and as well. I have set up a playlist, which I think I neglected to put down in the description, but the 2 videos that I do recommend about failing a road test are definitely down there. You can find the links. You can also find the link to my website in the description there for the list of states that are open and states that aren't open, and what modified testing and those types of things are. And as soon as I get done the playlist here, or as soon as I get done the live stream here, I will put in the description the playlist for slow speed maneuvers for those of you that are doing closed circuit testing or testing for your road test in the parking lot. And 5150, when are they going to start doing behind the wheel tests in California? I'm from California, Orange County. Yeah, see, they haven't started in California. I don't know what California is going to do. Mahandu, I'm not sure I said that right, but anyway. From New York, Raja is tuning in from Connecticut, and Joe, I'm in Ontario too, the Toronto area, yes, and the Toronto area has not started opening. The understanding is that they're going to open up here later in June. And California, I'm not sure what California is going to do in terms of reopening. I did posit a theory about, not a theory, but I did put forward a suggestion of what they can do and what they need to do because, as I said in the video that I put up a couple of weeks ago, people are not going to wait 18 months, 2 years for a road test. And with the current backlog and doing all of the screening that they're doing for COVID-19 and all of the protocol that they're putting in place, they are simply not going to be able to work through the backlog and present a reasonable amount of time for you to be taking your driver's test. It's, people just aren't going to wait that long. And my friend Michael is here from Jackson, Michigan. So a few people are here, and if you have any information, leave me a comment here somewhere on the channel, and I will update the tables over at the Smart Drive Test website as that information comes in. If you have any questions at all about what's going on, what we can help you with, let us know. We're more than happy to help you out. Raja, haven't heard anything about Connecticut yet here, and what I'll do as soon as I get through, I'll do the presentation, I'll come back, I'll pull up the tables over on the Smart Drive Test website, and any questions people have, I'll let you know about that. Okay, so animals, Idaho, trying to get your license before the end of summer, and I looked up Idaho this afternoon. Idaho, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, not as far as I'm concerned, weird language. As far as I know, Idaho is still closed, and that's what it says on their website. So I put that information up there as well. Michigan, for Michael, you're there in Michigan. They are still testing with screening questions in place. And CMDR, Calgary, Alberta. Alberta has not opened up yet. Here in British Columbia, in Canada, they have opened up, but they're only doing commercial testing. Same thing in New York City. They're only doing commercial testing. And I just realized that you were probably having trouble hearing me because the microphone was on the other side of the desk. I forgot to move it over. So you can probably hear me a bit better now. So 5150, your test was supposed to be on the 22nd of May. Yes, not to worry. For those of you who had tests canceled because of COVID-19, they are going to take care of the backlog first. All right, so they are going to do the backlog first. That's the first thing they're going to take care of. But then we still have all of these people who are sitting in the wings waiting to get their driver's test, and this is going to have a huge impact on our economy. They cannot wait people just cannot be expected to wait 18 months or 2 years. This is what I'm saying here. Okay. When are they going to open up? Because I do my drive test for L. Yes. Harrison is in Providence. You passed an excellent. So you passed your road test. So Providence, Rhode Island. Harrison so they're open in Providence in Rhode Island there. So I can put that on the thing. I'll update that according to that information. Roberta, New York City, New York State has not opened up yet. What I know about New York State is that they're only doing CDL testing at this juncture, and that's the same thing as they're doing here in British Columbia, Canada. They're only opening up for CDL licenses. Candy, Texas, I take mine on the 23rd of June, and in the state of Texas, the private schools are doing the testing, and then they send the results into the DMV. So that's how it works there in Texas. So Texas is open, which is good because, Texas and California are the two most populated states in the U.S. So, I don't know what California is going to do. They're still sitting on the fence here. Jay, anyone know anything about Arizona? Jay, as far as I know, Arizona has not closed down. They are still doing driver's tests, obviously with screening in place. So they're doing that there. South Carolina will just remind me, GTA, about South Carolina, and when I pull up the table here, we'll have a look at that. Okay. So I'll answer some questions. We'll go through that because we're getting off track here. Or I'm getting a bit off track, but I'll answer your questions. I'll let you know what's going on in your state or province, and I'll get through the slideshow presentation here quickly and go through that. Okay. So, where will your license take you? Know that over at the Smart Drive Test website, right on the front page, you can find the Pass Road Test First Time course. It's about $37, $38, and you are also included in that is the Defensive Driving course and the winter driving course. And even though it's the winter driving course, even for those of you who live in the South and don't experience winter, it will still help you with any type of inclement weather, hail, fog, rain, wind. That course is really good for that. So that's available over at the Smart Drive Test website. All right. So for those of you who might be new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I do have a PhD in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. I became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Most of my driving instruction has been around commercial vehicles, but I have done passenger vehicles as well. I've worked in the States. I've driven in the States. I was a driving instructor in Ontario first, and I moved to Australia. I became a driving instructor there, and I was a driving instructor I'm a licensed driving instructor in British Columbia, and my license is hanging up here behind me. And while I was going to university in Australia at the University of Melbourne, I drove coaches for Greyhound, and Australians like to say that that they founded Greyhound, which I never really checked into. I just took their word for it. So that's the information that I have about them and Australians. So number one reason for failing your road test. This video is available down in the description. So click on the description and look at that video. It'll tell you the number one reason why you will fail your road test. And actually that's in the slide presentation here. I'll talk to you more about that. So the number 8 reason, we're starting at 8 and going to 1, is you don't have mastery of the primary controls. And I talk about this, if you watch more than 3 or 4 of my videos, I talk about this again and again, is for primary controls, you must do work in the parking lot with some pylons. You have to do slow speed maneuvers because you have to have mastery of the steering wheel, the brake, the throttle, or the gas pedal, or accelerator, or whatever it's called. It has different names, unfortunately. Many things in driving do have different names for the same thing. Gas pedal, accelerator, throttle, all of those things have a name for that anyway. And if you're driving a manual transmission, a clutch. So excuse me, sorry, need a drink here. So when you're doing the slow speed maneuvers, or you're working in a parking lot with pylons and that sort of thing, it'll teach you mastery of the primary controls. It'll teach you how much to turn the steering wheel to go around a corner, how much throttle, how much brake. As well, it'll teach you where your vehicle is in space and place, which is a critical skill for the slow speed maneuvers that you have to do for the purposes of a driving test. And for those of you in the States that now are doing modified road tests and are doing closed circuit testing, you are going to have to double down on these slow speed maneuvers. You're going to have to be able to parallel park between cones. You're going to have to be able to reverse through cones. You're going to have to be able to do 2-point reverse turn. These seem to be the preferred fare for the new modified driver's test. So know that for the purposes of the driver's test. Okay, so number 8. So number 7 is lane positioning. Are you in the lane properly? And there's a video here on the channel that I did. It's a rather lengthy video. One of the new features of YouTube, I'll just mention this quickly. One of the new features of YouTube that I really like, and I'm getting through and I'm amending my videos, is the longer videos now have chapters. If you mouse over the scrubber where you control the video on off, the red line on the bottom, it will tell you the chapter titles. So the longer videos, you can just go to the section that you want to go to. This is a great new feature. I'm really excited about it. I like it, but it's taking me some time to get through my videos and amend them. But any video, if you got a video that you want me to put chapters in so it's easier for you to navigate and look for exactly what you're looking for, let me know and I'll look that up and I'll put that on there. But the more popular videos are getting done first, so that's what I'm doing. So that's very exciting. So have a look at that. Okay, so lane positioning. You look farther down the road, aim high in your steering, look for landmarks that you can navigate with. For example, if you're making left-hand turns, look at the concrete island in the middle of the road at a complex intersection, look for the hazard obstruction sign, and that will help you to navigate. But anytime that you deviate in your lane and you drift left or right, or the wheel goes onto the line, if you move to the left or right, that's 5 points. If you get the tire on the line, that's 10 points, and you could very quickly accumulate demerits that would cause you to fail your road test. So lane positioning is important. Communicating every time you turn or move the vehicle sideways. Make sure that you signal and shoulder check and observe correctly. Emergency vehicles, if emergency vehicles approach, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test if you do not move to the closest shoulder when you're driving on a driver's test. And this gets a few people out, is emergency vehicles. So make sure you do that for the purposes of your driver's test. Too cautious. If you are too cautious on your driver's test, you are not going to be successful. If you are going too slow, you're not turning into gaps that present themselves, or you surprised, you're just driving too slow. You're driving 5 miles an hour below the speed limit, or for the whole duration of the road test, you are not going to be successful. So know that for the purposes of the driver's test. My friend Tim is here, Drive Smart BC. If anybody has any specific questions about legislation and road rules, definitely go to Tim's website there. Drive Smart BC is great information over there and help you out for those of you who live in the province of British Columbia. And Tim says, what surprised me about my advanced driver training was that it spent a lot of time doing what you just said, low speed, knowing where you are and what your vehicle was doing. And exactly what Tim just said there about advanced driver training. Advanced driver training, a lot of advanced driver training is slow speed maneuvers, mastery of the primary controls, and teaching you where your vehicle is in space and place. These will improve your overall driving and make you a smarter driver. So know that for the purposes of learning to drive. All right, the next one, number 5, observation. A lot of people take a driver's test and don't know that they have to shoulder check a minimum of 2 times every time you turn, every time that you move the vehicle sideways, lane changes, lane merges. You're in a parking lot and you move the vehicle to back up into a space. Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. You have to have this in place for the purposes of a driver's test. And if you don't shoulder check and you begin to do the driver's test and you're 5 minutes into the driver's test and you've moved the vehicle sideways 3 times, turned twice, and haven't shoulder checked once, you can be guaranteed that it's going to be a very short road test, and the examiner is simply going to ask you to go back to the parking lot at the test center, and they're going to give you the bad news that you were unsuccessful on your driver's test because you did not shoulder check. Make sure that you shoulder check. Okay, you have a scanning pattern looking far down the road, and this ties in with speed management for the purposes of your driver's test. If you are not managing your speed, it indicates to the examiner that you do not have a good scanning pattern in place. So looking far down the road, looking at the instrument panel, far down the road, both shoulders, check the center mirror, far down the road, check one wing mirror, far down the road, both shoulders, and check the other wing mirror, and that scanning pattern should be in place every 10 to 15 seconds, and you therefore are checking your speedometer every 10 to 15 seconds and adjusting your speed. So if your speed management is not in place, they know that your observation is also not in place because you don't have your scanning pattern. So those two things work together. Okay, and when you're reversing, 360-degree scan before you start backing up, and make sure you look out the back window. You can use a backup camera sparingly, okay? For the majority of the time, you need to be looking out the back window, but do use a backup camera if you have one, all right? Road signs, actions contrary to road signs. This will cause you to fail a driver's test. So the first one I talked about was speeding. For the purposes of a driver's test, posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. That's how fast you go on a driver's test, all right? Failing to adjust speed according to the signs on the roadway where you're driving. Know that it's 30 miles an hour in the city unless otherwise posted, 50 kilometers an hour for those of us in Canada, and it's 80 kilometers an hour on the highway unless otherwise posted, or 50 miles an hour. So if you haven't seen a speed sign in a while, those are the speed limits that you need to be traveling, all right? Lane in, stop signs, school zone signs. If you're in a school zone, school is in session, and you speed through a school zone, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test, okay? Road markings, pay attention to road markings. Signs, road markings, and lights all work in concert to give you information about what you should be doing on the driver's test. Railway crossings. We have a railway crossing here in the city of Vernon that has stop signs. You must stop before proceeding across the railway crossing, so know that for the purposes of a driver's test. Automatic fails on a driver's test, striking a fixed object. So for example, if you're backing into the parking space at the test center and they have concrete barriers or abutments at the back of the parking space and you strike that barrier, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. So as I tell students, it's better to be a little bit out and lose a couple of demerit points than it is to back up too close to the barrier and strike the barrier. That is an automatic fail on a driver's test. And know that for CDL drivers as well. If you strike a fixed object, automatic fail on a driver's test, okay? Slow speed maneuvers, parking, 3-point turns. So 3-point turns, yeah, we'll talk about slow speed maneuvers a little bit more here in a moment. Dangerous actions. Blocking intersections, backing at an intersection, never back up on a roadway, okay? Unless you're someplace quiet, you've got your four ways on and you're doing it purposely. But at an intersection, if you go too far into the intersection and you're not more than the crosswalk, don't back up, okay? It's not safe. It's better to proceed through than it is to back up, okay? If the examiner intervenes during the test, that's an automatic fail on a road test. If they take hold of the steering wheel or they put the transmission into neutral, or if it's a driving school car and it has another brake on that side, if the examiner uses the brake, all those are automatic fails on a road test. And then finally, dangerous actions. If your action causes another road user to take evasive action because of something you did, you turned into a gap that wasn't sufficient and the other driver had to brake, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. One more that I will add to that is if you go through an intersection, the light is yellow. When you approach the intersection and you go into the intersection and the examiner looks up through the top of the windshield and sees the light turn red as you're in the intersection, that is running a red light, and that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. And I'll just write myself a note here to also put down in the description there. I'll put down the video on yellow lights and how to deal with yellow lights. So we'll help you with that. Okay, just transition back here. Here we go. Okay, and the number one reason that you will fail your road test is because you don't know what's on the test. You didn't take the time and invest the energy to talk to other people and to know exactly what's on the test at your test center. Every test center is specific and has its own nuance, okay? So it has its own specific things. And know that you can only go out 5 to 10 minutes in a circle around where the test center is, and so you need to know where the schools are. You need to know the peculiarities of the complex intersections in and around your test center. And what I tell students, if you haven't taken driver training, book a mock road test with a local driving school. The instructor will take you on the test route. He or she will point out all of the little things that you need to pay attention for your driver's test. They'll say, this is where you're going to parallel park. This is where you'll do a 3-point turn. This is where you will do a U-turn. And if you're with Shelly, the examiner, she'll get you to do a U-turn up here in this cul-de-sac. And they'll take you to those places and they'll get you to do the slow speed maneuvers. Because remember, for the purposes of a driver's test, it's 7/8 of the driver's test is in a forward motion. 1/8 is in slow speed maneuvers and backing up. And it is that 1/8 that usually gets students. It's not the driving forward. They find that fairly easy. It's backing up that will get you, okay? And my friend Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. And Corey's put the videos up for you, the playlist up there. Thanks, Corey. If you have any questions, Corey's really good as well, helping people out. And I don't think Jonathan's here, but Corey will help you out for sure. Excellent. Okay. So not knowing what's on the driving or on the test at your test center. So know that for the purposes of the driver's test. Okay. Do your research. If you, like I said, if you haven't taken driving lessons with a local driving school, do take a mock driver's test and just call up the local driving school 3 weeks before your driver's test is booked and say to them, I want to book a practice driving test in the week, whatever the week is before your driver's test. Go in, work with a driving instructor. They'll take you out for about an hour. They'll give you feedback. They'll tell you the skills and abilities that need some work for you to be successful. They'll take you on the test route. They'll show you where things are done, and they'll show you where the schools are, and pay attention to the school zone signs if school is in session. They'll show you where the slow speed maneuvers are done and those types of things. For example, and I'll tell you this about different test centers. When I worked in London, Ontario, drivers had to back around a corner, 2-point reverse turn for the purposes of a driver's test. When I worked in Victoria, they had to parallel park, and the parallel parking was done in the parking lot. It wasn't done out on the street. So these are things that local driving schools will tell you and help you out with so that you can be successful on your driver's test first time. And the other statistic I'll tell you is that people who don't take driver training, some form of driver training, whether it's with a driving school or whether it's here with me on Smart Drive Test or whatnot, if you don't take driver training and you just go out with your parents, they engage in social driving, you're one in two chances of failing your driver's test. If you take some form of driver training and work with a driving instructor, you're 95% chance that you're going to pass your driver's test. Okay? It's a very high probability. So take some form of driver training to be successful on your driver's test. Okay, I mentioned the Pass Your Road Test First Time course over at the Smart Drive Test website. You pick that up for about $38, and we also include the defensive driving and winter driving courses in that as well. And it's guaranteed pass your driver's test first time, so that's available over there. All right, so good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right. And we'll transition back here and we'll answer the questions that people have here, and I'll pull up the things here so I have them available. All right. And I've put these links down in the description there as well, so you can find those down there as well if you're looking for those. Okay, and a couple smart drivers here was asking me about the state of Massachusetts. It depends on where you are in the state of Massachusetts, but they are doing testing in the state of Massachusetts. Here, just let me look here and make sure I got the right information for you. Okay, Massachusetts. It's unconfirmed testing by appointment in the state-provided vehicle. And there's a link. If you click on that and go over to my website, there's a link there that you can click on and have a look at that. The information about taking the test in the state-provided vehicle is not confirmed. Okay? All right. Animals are better than people. Would you have to pay for a mock road test? Yes, you do. It's probably going to cost you about $100 to take a practice driving test at the local driving school, but it's money well invested. I'm telling you this because if you take a practice driving test with a local driving school and go out with the instructor, it's really, really going to help you out. You are almost guaranteed that you're going to pass your driver's test. Unless something catastrophic goes wrong, a meteorite falls out of the sky on the hood of your car and crushes your engine, you're going to be successful. So it's money well invested, okay? Amber, I was in the middle of a maneuver and the guy stopped me in the middle of it and then failed me because I didn't do it the way he liked it. Yeah, unfortunately, Amber, sometimes that happens. I don't know whether you weren't signaling or you weren't doing something correct. I can't comment on that because I wasn't there, okay? And that's very unfortunate that they didn't even let you finish. He just stopped you in the middle of it. You hadn't even moved yet. Okay, so okay, maneuver. All right, so Amber, what was the maneuver that he or she was asking you to do on the driver's test that they just intervened before you even started doing it? That's interesting. O'Shea, can you drive a city passenger bus with a Class A CDL, or does it have to be a Class B CDL? Okay, O'Shea, where are you in the world? And I'll be able to answer that question because it's a little different depending on which state or province you're in. For example, in Ontario, Canada, you cannot drive a bus with an AZ license, but here in British Columbia, with a Class 1 license, you can drive any bus. So it depends on where you are in the world. Neptune, what is the penalty if you don't give way at a yield sign during a driver's test? Neptune, it's going to be fairly high if you fail to give the right of way to another road user at a yield sign. It might even, depending on the discretion of the examiner, it might even be a fail. It depends on how you've been doing up to that point in the test. And this is the other thing that I will say about driving examiners. Okay, so when you do your driver's test and you go back to the parking lot and the driving examiner gives you the fatal news that you did not pass your driver's test, that you were unsuccessful, and they give you some feedback on 1 or 2 points, keep in mind that that is not the only reason that you failed the driver's test, okay? It's not just one thing that causes you to fail the driver's test if you demerit out, okay? There is if you commit a dangerous action. For example, you block an intersection and the light turns red and you're still in the intersection. That's an automatic fail in a driver's test. But what I'm talking about is when you accumulate enough demerits that you weren't successful on the driver's test. So for example, what Neptune is talking about there, so you head up to a yield sign and somebody's going to walk out into the intersection and you have to give way to pedestrians. And you failed to do that because you didn't see the pedestrian because there was a hedge at the corner and they were walking along the hedge, and then all of a sudden they just bolted out and stepped into the roadway. And you had to brake aggressively to stop to miss them. Well, you didn't see them because you didn't have a clear line of vision, okay? If you've been doing really well up to that point on the driver's test and the examiner's saying to him or herself, yeah, you're going to pass the driver's test, then they'll probably give you a pass on that. But if you've made several mistakes up to that point where the pedestrian steps out on the sidewalk, it's likely that you're not going to pass your driver's test. That's going to be the thing that fails you on your driver's test, and the examiner's just going to say, well, this person cannot deal with this, okay? So there is, even though they will tell you, driving examiners, driving and test centers will tell you that the test is objective, the test isn't objective, okay? Driving is not something that's black and white, okay? There's a lot of discretion involved in driving. There's a lot of discretion involved in terms of what you need to do to pass your driver's test, but on the part of the driving examiner, he or she has a fair bit of discretion, not only in what they can get you to do on a driver's test, but what happens on a driver's test. So know that it's not just one thing that's going to cause you to fail your road test and demerit out for the purposes of passing or failing. All right? Okay. Liam, now if it's green and you're in the intersection, it goes red by the time you turn, is that still an automatic fail? Okay, so Liam, which way are you turning? Are you turning right or are you turning left when you're talking about it going red? Because if it goes red on a left-hand turn, and there's an example of that in the left how to turn left on the video here on the channel, where the pickup truck is in the intersection, the light goes yellow, and a tractor trailer comes through the intersection. Well, the driver of the pickup truck has to wait for the semi to clear the intersection, and by the time the pickup truck goes, the light is red. That is not going to cause you to fail a road test. If the light is red, you're in the intersection, you're waiting for the semi, and then you sit there for 5 or 10 seconds, that might cause you to fail. But if you are waiting for the semi, and as soon as you check, you double check, you make sure the traffic behind it stops, and you go to clear the intersection, you're probably not going to fail because you've done what you need to do for the purposes of your driver's test. All right. Okay, Sabrina, any info on Georgia's modified test? Yes. So, excellent question. Okay, so for most of you who are doing modified tests, and at this juncture we know that Pennsylvania is doing a modified test. We know that Georgia is doing a modified test. South Carolina, I believe, is doing a modified test. What you're going to be doing is doing your test in the parking lot with the examiner outside of the vehicle. The maneuvers that you are going to be required to do for your test, backing straight up through pylons, you're going to have to do a 2-point reverse turn, and you're going to have to parallel park with cones. And Corey will get you the playlist here on COVID-19 slow speed maneuvers, closed circuit testing here. And this is what you need to do for the purposes of your driver's test. And Corey put the video up there for you on how to turn left, okay? So have a look at that at complex intersections. Candy, I mean right. Candy, you mean right turn at a complex intersection. If you turn right and the light turns red, if the light is green, you make the right-hand turn. It's unlikely that the light is going to get red by the time you get around the corner, unless you've come up and you go around the corner and there's pedestrians going across. By the time the pedestrian's clear, you're already committed to that right-hand turn, so you're going to have to complete your right-hand turn, and it's not likely you're going to fail because of that. So that's the only way that I could see the light going to red on a right-hand turn. All right. Joe, way better peripheral vision turning to the right, whether you're backing up to the left or to the right or straight. Yes, and exactly what Joe said there is correct. When you're backing up to the left, okay, so backing up to the left, do you fail the test if you turn your head and body to the right? There are too many posts in the way compared when turning the right and looking straight. No, Joe, and I know what you're talking about, because what you're saying is, what Joe is talking about is that you're backing up and say you're doing a 2-point reverse turn, but it's not likely unless you're doing one in a parking lot. And you're going to turn to the left. You're going to turn to the passenger side. If you're looking out the back window and then as soon as the vehicle turns and you look out the window, that's perfectly acceptable. I know what Joe is saying for that purposes. But make sure that also when you're backing up, and this is the other thing that I tell drivers who are taking a test, every vehicle length, make sure you pause, do a 360-degree scan, look out the back window, and then resume backing another vehicle length. So for every vehicle length, make sure you're doing your 360-degree scan. But what Joe is saying, you're not going to fail if you're looking up this way because that's your best line of sight for backing up. Okay? Excellent question. Awesome. Kendall, I heard different people about what they did on the road test, so I don't know what it's going to be in Chicago. So, Kendall, in Chicago, Illinois, the information, the unconfirmed information that I have at this juncture, Kendall, is the state of Illinois is doing chase tests. So they're doing the same as what they do with motorcycles. The examiner and another driver in another vehicle behind you, they're going to have a radio in your vehicle and they're going to communicate with you via the radio. But as I said, that information is unconfirmed. That's what I know at this juncture. And if anybody else, any of the other smart drivers watching now or watching on the replay has any information about what's going on in Chicago, what's going on in Illinois and the counties there, let me know and I'll put that information up over on the Smart Drive Test website there. And you can find the links to those lists down in the description. 554, New York isn't taking any passenger testing yet. At this juncture, New York State is only testing CDL drivers. They have yet to move forward with testing there in the state of New York for passenger vehicles. Derby, how are you, my friend? I would like some tips on how to deal with jaywalkers while driving. I see a lot of jaywalkers around universities and in downtown. I'm in Halifax, by the way. Okay, so Derby, you're in Halifax. Jaywalkers are causing you grief. You just slow down and let them go, right? Because, they're taking their life into their own hands. And that's the only thing you can do. Just give them space, let them cross the road, and, make sure that you're not going to hit them. That's the best you can do. And, really, the world it's on them. They're not crossing at a crosswalk, a designated crosswalk, or at a corner, so it's a bit tough for them. Liam, now if your test was canceled, any idea how they're going to go through the backlog? I have a feeling with ICBC they're going to ignore that and have a free-for-all when they resume tests. No, Liam, I don't see them doing that. I see them working through the backlog first. What they're trying to figure out right now is how to deal with keeping workers safe and how to keep driving examiners safe. So that's what they're doing here at ICBC. But I think they're feeling that out with just doing the CDL test at this point, classes 1 to 4. So we'll see what happens. What about Alabama? Kev, what do I got for Alabama? I don't think I have any information about Alabama. No, I don't have any information as far as I know, Kev, about Alabama. So, to my knowledge, they're closed, but I can leave myself a note here and I'll look that up for you. Okay. So, I got a note there for that. Animals are better than people. I don't know what Idaho is going to do. As I said, at this juncture, they're still closed. So, until they open up, we don't know what's going to happen. My friend Jonathan is here. Jonathan is in New York City, in New York State. So, hello, Jonathan. Jonathan's got some great information as well. When parallel parking in a parking space and a half, the car is in the parking space. Do you only pay attention in the parking space or on the street as well? I'm not following that question, 5150, about what you're doing. You do have to pay attention anytime you're driving the vehicle and setting up for the vehicle and those types of things. And the two ways that you're communicating when you're parallel parking is you about a half a block where you're going to park. You pull up, you put your right signal on, and you pull up beside the other vehicle. And as soon as you stop beside the other vehicle where you're going to stop, put the vehicle into reverse, and that activates the reverse lights to indicate to traffic behind you that you are going to back up and parallel park in that space. So that's what you do. Lydia, how are you? Probably thank you very much for the compliment. I had an appointment to get my DL on Thursday, but they canceled it because of the rain. I was so disappointed. And where, remind me, Lydia, where are you? And we can get that information. I can't believe they canceled it because of the rain. That's crazy. What do they think, that you're never going to drive in the rain? Interesting. Western Movies. I got my license by Rick's Videos on YouTube. Thank you so much. Thank you, Western Movies. That's awesome. So happy that we could help out. That's really great. Okay, what else we got here? Okay, I'll work through the questions. Okay, so Amber was saying backing straight back, but it was around a curve halfway down a hill. So I looked over my shoulder, checked I was in the reverse, but stopped me before I did that and distracted me and went to do the maneuver. Okay, so you're backing straight down the road, Amber, and you were about halfway down the hill. Okay, I'm not really, maybe we could have a discussion, Amber, about that via email, rick@smartdrivetest.com. Send me an email and we can work through that, okay? Texas tests. Medina, what they're doing there in Texas is still open. They're still doing road tests. They're doing them at the local schools. I believe that the driving schools can administer the driving test there in the state of Texas. So have a look at that, okay? All right. Emil, yeah, I just answered your question up further. Thank you for putting that, repeating that. And if you have any questions about, that I didn't get to your question, it's busy right now. Just write it, just cut and paste it and put it back in again, and I'll make sure that I get through it. As well, Super Chat's available as well here. If you have Super Chat, I will definitely answer your question for you on Super Chat, so that's available as well. Lydia, yay, and I'm 18 for goodness sakes. Awesome. Mackenzie, when driving in a residential area with cars parked on the street, do you have to turn your blinker on when going around them? Yes, Mackenzie, what you're talking about, anytime that you deviate from your lane, you have to mirror signal, shoulder check, signal, move around the vehicle if you're going to deviate into the other lane, and then mirror signal, shoulder check back into your lane. Okay, it's like you're going to pass or whatnot. So for all the people there, if you're on a road and there's a vehicle or an obstruction on the roadway and it causes you to deviate out into the other lane, yes, mirror signal, shoulder check out and mirror signal, shoulder check back. Okay. Harrison, news in Ontario is that they're resuming at the end of the month. They haven't opened up yet, but the 22nd of June and whatnot is when they're talking about opening up in Ontario, Canada. All right. Guri, you had talked about 45-degree angle while parallel parking. How do you know that angle provided no car is in the back? You talked about a house seen at 45. Okay, so Guri, basically 45 is out here, right? So this is 90 degrees. Put this hand out straight, your front hand out straight. I can see there. This hand out to the side. Halfway is your 45-degree mark. And in most vehicles, when you're stopped beside the other vehicle, where the window, the front windshield is over here at the side, and the door, the A pillar, the post is there. Just behind that should be your 45-degree, and then you just figure out where your landmark is for the purposes of your driver's test. And okay, so that's how you figure out the 45-degree angle. And it might take you a few times, 3 or 4 times, to figure out where the 45 is as you come up, but you'll get better at it and know what you need, where it is and whatnot. Michelle, due to COVID-19, we have to wear masks and will impede our vision. Some places, yes, most places, Michelle, excellent point. Thank you for reminding me. Most places, when you're taking your driver's test, is going to require you to wear a mask. And for those of you who are wearing glasses, yes, the mask is going to fog up your glasses. Now, one smart driver left a comment saying that if you put toothpaste on your glasses on both sides and then clean it off, that will help to prevent your glasses from fogging up. I don't know whether that works or not because I don't wear glasses, but for those of you who wear glasses, give that a go and then send me a comment and let me know if that in fact does work for you to keep your glasses clear. Okay? Candyman, they're doing them at schools and the DPS in Texas. Okay, thank you for that information. I'll make sure to update that information about Texas on the list I have over at the Smart Drive Test website there. Okay, Indigenous, Rick, why do people get so confused by four-way stops? I live in St. Louis, and four-way stops are brutal here. Indigenous, I think the reason that people are confused about four-way stops is because four-way stops and two-way stops are not clearly differentiated in the driver's manual. They give you a whole host of right-of-way rules for two-way stops, and they give you a whole host of things for four-way stops, and many people just are not, they're confused about it. And I see people do this like you at four-way stops and two-way stops. So what I tell people at two-way stops, okay, these are the right-of-way rules for two-way stops. Major road over minor road, straight through traffic over turning traffic, and right turning traffic over left turning traffic. That's for two-way stops, okay? At four-way stops, first person to arrive, the vehicle on the left. And if the intersection, the four-way intersection is busy, then they're going to alternate. The lanes of traffic are going to alternate. And again, the other rules apply. Straight through over turning, right turning traffic over left turning traffic. And I probably need to do a video on that and just clarify that by comparing two-way stops and four-way stops, and maybe that'll help people and help smart drivers and clear up some of the confusion about all of this. Okay, so Chris is saying that the toothpaste tip did not work for her or him. I'm sorry, I can't see your avatar there, and I apologize. Liam, and he said Liam, it didn't work for him either. But you'll try the toothpaste. Okay, so yeah, it's really causing some difficulty for people because, you know, I know what you're talking about because I've worked in construction where you have to wear a mask, a dust mask, and you have safety glasses on, and the things keep fogging up. The only way to stop it from fogging up is if you pull the mask down so it's under your nose, which defeats the purpose of the whole thing, of course, right? So there you go. Okay. All right, Mackenzie, hey, do you know what they are going to make you do for the driving test in Pennsylvania? So in Pennsylvania, Mackenzie, they're doing a closed circuit test, the same as they're doing in Georgia. In Pennsylvania, closed circuit test. So they're getting you to back up between cones, parallel park with cones, and 2-point reverse turn with cones. Okay, and excellent. Okay, and so that's what they're doing there. I have a road test tomorrow. Dion, I have a road test tomorrow. So let's say there's a stop sign and you can't see oncoming traffic coming from each side. Would you stop at the line for 3 seconds and then slowly inch up so you can see? So the way that you do it, Dion, it's not time. So you stop at the correct stopping position at the stop sign intersection, whether that's the stop line before the sidewalk or crosswalk lines. And if those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge where the two roads meet. And you stop there, come to a complete stop, and then you treat it as a yield. So then you inch up until you can see the cross traffic, and when the cross traffic is clear, then you proceed. That's the way you deal with those intersections, all right? So it's not amount of time. It's just coming to a complete stop and then move up so that you can see the cross traffic at the intersection, all right? Excellent. We have Candy. Yeah. I thought it was because my breath was hot. Yeah, well, it is because of that, but it's because when you wear a mask, right? The mask is over here. The air is coming up under your glasses and causing your glasses to fog up, which is just a real pain in the butt. Okay. Snug against your nose won't allow your breath to flow up and condense on your glasses. Okay, so what Joe is saying is that some of the dust mask will have a metal clip here that goes over your nose. And if you take that metal clip and really push it down so it's really pushed into your nose, that's going to prevent the hot breath going up into your glasses and fogging your glasses up. So give that a go as well. And Dion, excellent. Good luck on your road test tomorrow. And remember, breathe. That'll force your body to relax. So make sure that you focus on your breathing, and show up about a half an hour early. Make sure you bring your money, bring your license, and a couple other pieces of identification. Have your vehicle cleaned out. Make sure you do a little pre-trip on it tonight. And Corey will put the video up for you on pre-trip inspection there. Make sure all the lights are working. The seatbelt works on the passenger side and those types of things. So, and good luck with all of that. Amber, it's better to wear contacts. Amber, if you have contacts and you prefer contacts, wear whatever is comfortable for you. If you are comfortable wearing glasses, then wear glasses. If you're comfortable wearing contacts, then wear contacts. But, you know, just whatever is comfortable for you. Excellent. Okay, there we go. Eric, I was suggested a high-end mask. I still get smear after the toothpaste. Wonder if it has to be a certain type of paste. My understanding, Eric, I asked for clarification on this about the toothpaste was, do you just wipe it on, let it sit for a little bit, and then clean it off? And that was what the smart driver said was how that works. So like I said, I hadn't tried it to see whether it worked or not. But anyway, you know, maybe we could do something fun and do a little video about that and see if we can get that to work for us. O'Shea, it is difficult to do a 2-point reverse turn if you've never done it. Yes. And this is the thing, O'Shea, if you have done the slow speed maneuvers that you need to do for the purposes of your driver's test, so if you have done reverse stall parking, so backing into a parking space, if you have done 3-point turns, all of that is going to prepare you to do a 2-point reverse turn. A 2-point reverse turn is simply just backing around a corner. That's all it is. And it's almost the identical maneuver to 90-degree back up into a parking space. So if you have a parking space over here, you're going to back up to and you drive past it and then back around the corner. A 2-point, that's essentially a 2-point reverse turn, right? You're just backing up and then turning out and going the other way. That's why it's called a 2-point reverse turn. So, and it has a few different names, but it's basically just backing around a corner is what the 2-point reverse turn is. Mackenzie, do you have any tips to make it easier to parallel park? Yes. So Mackenzie, I don't know what technique you're doing, but the technique we use here on the channel is, so you're about half a block where you're going to parallel park in a space. Most of the time on a driver's test, they are not going to get you to park between two vehicles unless the examiner's a real ogre. They're just going to get you to park behind one vehicle. So about half a block where you're going to parallel park, put your signal on, pull up beside the vehicle so you can see the back corner of the vehicle that you're going to park behind out the back window right in the back corner. Stop, put the vehicle into reverse immediately right away to activate the reverse lights to indicate to traffic that you're going to parallel park. Stop, pause, pick out your 45 degree, which is just about where the driver's mirror is on the vehicle. Turn your steering wheel all the way to the right, back up until you are facing that 45 degree angle. When you're facing that 45 degree angle, bring your steering wheel back to straight, which is going to be 1.5 turns of the steering wheel. Back up until the back corner of the front vehicle is about 1/3 to 1/2 down the hood. Then you're going to turn your steering wheel all the way to the left and back in until you're straight behind the other vehicle. And then you're going to pull up and you're going to turn your steering wheel until you're straight, and you're going to pull up so you can just see the top of the bumper of the vehicle in front of you. So that's how you do it. Excellent. The 144, my friend. And thank you so much for the super chat there. I love the sticker. That's awesome. Keep it up. And you asked me today, and I was thinking about this today because I was going through the comments on that video about CDL drivers. And I was going to do a video on it about CDL drivers and whether they should do the same thing with CDL drivers that they've done with passenger vehicles in the state of, they're now doing it in North Carolina. They've done it in Wisconsin already, where they're moving passenger drivers of passenger vehicles, so those in the GDL program, moving them from the learner's phase into the novice phase. And I gave this a lot of thought. And the reason it took me kind of a bit to sort of think about this is because here in Canada, they're implementing the MELT, right? The mandatory entry-level training program for new drivers doing CDL driving. In Canada, I don't see it happening. We are way too close to the bus crash that happened here not even a year ago, I think now, with the tractor-trailer driver that ran into the bus. We are far too close to that for them to beginning moving CDL drivers into just having their license. I can see it being done, and I can see it working with oversight and with the industry coming on board. But for the most part, here in Canada, it's not going to work. It might work in the States because they haven't had that crash and they haven't had the political pressure to tighten training requirements for CDL drivers. And so that's my preliminary thoughts on that. And like I said, I'm probably going to do a video about it and talk about it a little bit more about what we need to do to kind of make training better for CDL drivers, for truck and bus drivers, because the training, as far as I'm concerned, it's not working. It's not making CDL drivers better. We need to have a coalition between the driving schools, between the driving test centers, those that are issuing the tests, and with the industry at large. So this is what we need to do to make training better for CDL drivers. So I'm still thinking about that for you. Okay. Night. I can't wait for the DMT to open to do my road test. I'm excited. I watched your parallel park videos all most of the time. Excellent. And Satya, where are you located in the world? Okay. Ruben, what would you recommend me doing if I want to get my driver's license? Should I take driving courses before I go ahead and take my road test? Okay. So Ruben, where are you in? Are you in the States or are you in Canada where you're doing your driver's test? Blessed, my friend, how are you? I just wanted to say hello. Hope you're doing well. It's good to know that you're doing what you do best. Keep up the great work. Awesome. And Blessed, do you have any idea what they're doing there in Hawaii? What they're doing for driver's tests there? I would be interested to put that on the list and know what they're doing as well. Mackenzie, thank you so much. I usually have an issue with getting the 45-degree angle. Yes, and you know the other thing, Mackenzie, that kind of affects that 45-degree angle is if the vehicle that you're parking behind, if it's out from the curb or whether it's close to the curb, that can affect your 45-degree angle, because you might have to reduce it a little bit or move it a little bit, but all of that, you'll kind of work that out. Satya, you're in Brooklyn. Okay, so you're in New York there as well. So basically, Satya, what they're doing in New York at this juncture, they haven't reopened for passenger vehicle tests. They're only doing CDL tests in the state of New York, okay? And Britt, Florida it depends on what county you are in Florida, but my understanding about Florida is that they are doing testing as usual, but they have screening for the COVID-19. So they're asking you the questions when you come in. And depending on which test center you're at, they might even take your temperature. But essentially what they're doing in the state of Florida is, do you have a runny nose? Are you running a fever? Have you felt unwell? Have you flown in the last week or two? And what else would they ask you? Have you been out of the country and whatnot? So they're going to ask you those questions. They may require you to wear a mask, so make sure that you bring a mask if you do show up for your test. And the examiner's going to wear a mask, and they may require you to disinfect, or they'll have cleaning products there that will allow them to disinfect the seat in your car. That's what they're doing in the state of Florida there. Mercy, greetings from Papua New Guinea. Wow, that's awesome. Your video lessons about how to drive a manual vehicle have helped me a lot. Thank you so much, Mercy. That's awesome compliment, and we're so glad that we could help you out with driving a manual transmission there in Papua New Guinea. Awesome, brilliant. Andrew, how do I get my New York City DMV road test again? It was for March 24th, 2024, or on the 24th, but they canceled it. Andrew, they haven't started passenger testing in the state of New York as of this time. They're only doing CDL tests there. I can assure you almost with 100% confidence that they are going to work through the backlog first as soon as they figure out what's going to happen. I think that what a lot of states that are still closed are waiting for is they're waiting to see what happens with North Carolina. As you may or may not know, North Carolina is the 9th most populated state in the U.S., okay? They are currently working on legislation to simply move new drivers from the learner's phase into the novice phase. And if that is successful in the state of California, then I think you'll see other states begin to follow suit, because they've done it in Wisconsin and now they're doing it in North Carolina. They tried it in Georgia, but they got huge backlash in the state of Georgia and they had to rescind that. So now what Georgia is doing is closed circuit testing. They're doing testing in parking lots. So that's what they're doing there. So I think that a lot of states that haven't reopened yet, New York and California and these other states, are waiting to see what happens in North Carolina, to see whether what kind of pushback they get on that legislation. And personally, my own personal thoughts, I mean, I'm a professional driving instructor. I've been in this industry for a long time. I don't see a problem with it. A lot of driving instructors and other people are reacting and saying, well, this is the #1 killer of young people. Of course it is, because it's the only thing that they do that in society that is high risk. And I hate to say this, but the other thing that is the #1 leading cause of death amongst young people is suicide. But we don't mention that. It's kind of hush-hush in our society. So the other thing that they're looking at is that most of these people are still working on information from 30 years ago, before we had GLP and GDL programs. They're both the same thing, just different names, right? The graduated driver's licensing program or the graduated licensing program. young people are much, much more informed. Parents are informed. We have mass amounts of information on social media about distracted driving and the dangers of driving. And all these younger people have access to this information, and so do their parents as well. Cars are safer, seatbelts are saving lives, and grassroots campaigns against distracted driving, mothers against drunk driving, students against drunk driving. All of this information is out there about the dangers of driving. So I don't think that young people are going to be at the risk that people think that they are going to be at if we move them from the learner's phase into the driver's phase, or into the novice phase of the GDL program. I just don't see it. And the other thing that authorities are claiming is that they've reduced the number of traffic deaths amongst young people in the GDL program. I don't think they have at all. I think what they've done is caused young people to postpone their driver's license into their 20s, and when they're in their 20s, then they get their license, and it begins to flatten the curve and death rate amongst young people. So I don't think that the GLP and GDL programs can be saluted for reducing the number of fatalities amongst young people. I don't think that's the reason at all why young people are having fewer crashes that are causing death. I think it's because of all of these other social awareness programs that are going on in our society. So there, I'll get off my soapbox now and answer some more questions. Michael, I think you missed it, but here in Jackson, Michigan last week, we were working on I-94, and we were pretty much next to the Sears where ABC does their slow speed maneuvers, and they were doing them. Awesome. Okay, so ABC. Who is ABC, Michael? I'm not familiar with that. Corey, my take, no, if too close, you won't have no room on the final turn after clearing your front end with the front car bumper. Yeah, that's why you want it. That's one of the what Corey just said. Make sure that you're 3 feet from the car that you're going to park behind when you're doing your parallel parking, right? 3 feet is, just imagine somebody standing between your vehicle and the vehicle against the curb, okay? That's what you need to do. O'Shea, do you have to wait for the backlog if you paid for your license without test and now required to take the test and to keep in license? No, O'Shea, I'm not exactly sure of all the technicalities. I can't kind of comment on that, but they should be working through the backlog first, okay? Blessed, they are opening up slowly. Some places just wanted to see how it goes once they are opening. Okay, so it's kind of piecemeal there in Hawaii. Thanks for that information, Blessed. Amber, hoping your advice videos give me courage to try my driving test again. It cost me $200 between the test, renting a school car. I have a car already. I thought it would be the hard part. Excellent. Okay. Joe, any chance Ontario might follow suit and fast track the G1 to G2 process? Joe, I personally, in my professional opinion, I can't see any other way that Ontario is going to deal with the backlog. I mean, Ontario's population is 3 times what it is in BC. In BC, BC is conducting 7,500 road tests a week. So that means that if BC is conducting 7,100 road tests a week and they have the third the population in Ontario, extrapolate that out, that means that Ontario is behind 20,000 road tests every week for every week they've been closed. So they've been closed now? 12 weeks. So 12 times 2 is 240,000 road tests. How are they ever going to catch up with that? They are not going to catch up with that. So it's in my mind, it's the only viable option that they have to be able to deal with that backlog. I don't know how they're going to do it otherwise. All right. Mackenzie, sorry for asking all these questions, but how often should I look at my speedometer and how do I focus better while driving? Okay, so Mackenzie, you need to have your scanning pattern in place to be looking at your speedometer. So your scanning pattern, down the road, both shoulders in, check your instrument panel. Far down the road, check your center mirror. Far down the road, both shoulders, check one of your wing mirrors, and then repeat that pattern every 10 to 15 seconds. So every 10 to 15 seconds, you should be having a quick glance at your speedometer, okay? So that's how that works. Andrew, what are the first couple of steps to do when you first begin your road test? Andrew, the first thing they're gonna do when you show up for your driver's test, so you go in, if you can, if there's signs that tell you different, then drive into the parking space or park wherever you're supposed to. But know at the driving test center there's going to be designated parking. If you can, back into the space. That way you can drive out when you start and you're going to be less nervous, okay? Because you don't want to have to back out of the parking space and into traffic when you first start. You're going to go in, you're going to sign in. You need your driver's license and a couple of pieces of ID. Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you show up. so everything's working and you know you're not going to be denied because you have a brake light out or whatnot. Go into the test center. The examiner will come out. He or she will find you. They'll do a mini pre-trip on your car, honk the horn, check the wipers, check the lights work, make sure that the license plate is valid, and then they'll get in the vehicle, and then they'll give you directions about where to go and what to do and how to do your driver's test. Now, that is if it's a normal driving test. If it's a closed circuit test, they're going to stay outside the vehicle to give you instructions, and you'll do your slow speed maneuvers in the parking lot. That's how all of that will work, okay? Okay, Michael, I'm not sure what ABC stands for, but here in Jackson we have ABC, AA, and Easy Way. Okay, so these are what you're talking about, Michael. Is those are your driving schools? Is what I think that you're saying. Okay, excellent. It's good that they're starting to work again. And also for those of you who are in Michigan, Michigan is doing testing with the screening questions, and as well they're disinfecting the seat, and you have to wear a mask. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Sensational. I got my license, but your videos helped a ton with practice. Thank you so much. And 5 sensational, that is awesome. Congratulations on getting your license. Simply brilliant. Awesome. Okay, and O'Shea, ABC is News Broadcasting Network, if that's the ABC I think he's talking about. O'Shea, I think he's talking about the driving schools, not the the news channel. Excellent. Messe, what are some tips to stay calm during a driving test? Some tips, make sure you breathe, okay? Breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Make sure that you're breathing for your road test, okay? And that'll help you to relax as well. You know, visualize the wind, and you know, they're just people. Don't get too freaked out about it, okay? And you know, if you can, the other thing that will really help you to relax on a driver's test is if you haven't taken driver training with a driving instructor, get a practice driving test with a local driving school and go out with him or her. They will, as I said before, they'll take you on the test route and they'll show you all of the little bits of the test route that you need to pay attention to. They'll also show you where you're going to do your slow speed maneuvers, where you're probably going to do your parallel parking, where you're going to do your 3-point turn, where you're going to do a U-turn, and those types of things. Because driving instructors teach people how to pass a driver's test every day. As well, the driving instructors know exactly, you know, if you don't have like dozens of driving examiners at the test center, if you only have 5 or 6, those driving instructors will know each one of those driving examiners, and they'll know exactly what things they're looking for you in particular on your driver's test. Okay, so know that as well. Okay, Ruben, so Texas is doing as usual, and it's both the Department of Motor Vehicles there and the private driving schools that are doing testing there, okay? Excellent. Okay, so I think we're wrapping up, getting near the end here. Mackenzie, drink water, not a lot, but drink some, yes. You don't want to need to use the bathroom during your test, exactly. Okay, and on that point, Mackenzie, make sure that you go to the bathroom before you start your test, because you know, Meze rather, make sure you go to the toilet before you start your test, as Mackenzie said there. You don't want to have to do that when you're out on your driver's test. All right, so probably what I'm going to do, because everything's busy right now and everybody's asking questions and they're trying to figure out what's going on with their driver's test and those types of things, I'm going to do another live stream during the week here just to kind of touch base with everybody and make sure that everybody knows what's going on and what's happening in their state or province, and keeping all of this kind of going here in terms of all of the craziness with reopening of test centers and whatnot. Joe, Rick, fantastic information as always. Thank you so much. Whenever I'm in the car teaching my son, I tell him I'm not just channeling Rick. That's funny. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. That's really awesome. Michael, you're most welcome. Meze, can you take your hands off the wheel during the test also? Like, can you do your crossover movement? I've heard many different things about it. Okay, so Meze, again, some places want you, most places in Canada and North America want you to do hand over hand. Some places will want you to do hand to hand. Now, Meze, I'm gonna really strongly recommend this to you. If you haven't taken driver training with a local driving school, book a practice driving test with a local driving school and go out with you. Those are the kind of nuanced questions that he or she, the driving instructor, will be able to answer for you for the purposes of your test at your local driving school. Okay, so if you haven't taken driver training, book a practice driving test with a local driving school, and they'll be able to help you out with that. that specific information, because as I said, most places it's hand over hand. A few select places are hand to hand, but I don't know where those are, where they are, and whatnot. Okay, DC, hello. Yes, we're just wrapping up here, DC. Hossein, left turn recommendations. Yes, and I'll finish up with this here. Hussein, when you're at a complex intersection, left-hand turns, you're going to pull up and you're going to wait for a gap. If you don't get on the advanced screen, you want to put the front steer tires of your vehicle on the front crosswalk line. That way you're committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection. You're watching for the gap to come. When the gap comes, you move forward into the intersection and make your turn and meet the gap. Okay, you're going to start turning the wheel of your vehicle. So say there's 2 lanes. When you are at the middle line of the second lane, you're going to start to turn. You're going to look at the traffic island with the hazard obstruction. That's going to be your landmark. So you're going to turn left lane into left lane. When you get in the left lane and the vehicle straightens out, put your right signal on, and then mirror signal shoulder check. It's clear. Shoulder check again, and then move over and change lanes to the right-hand side immediately. Scroll back through the comments here and you'll find the video for how to make left-hand turns, and that'll really help you out, okay? Paul, great stuff, Rick, watching from the UK. Thanks for the great info. And Paul, you are most welcome there in the UK. I was actually supposed to go to London in the spring here, but all of that got canceled because of COVID-19. I was going to do some videos there in London as well. But thank you so much, Paul, and it's really great to have you here from the UK. Mackenzie, I took driving lessons and don't regret it. Makes me feel ready for my test. Yes, Mackenzie, and yes, it's a bit of money, but it's awesome because of the confidence it gives you, and you know exactly what's on the test. So, watching from Winnipeg, Manitoba, awesome, Meze, and all the best on your test there. If you have any more questions, just leave us a comment, and we'll be sure to help you out. Okay? All the best with everybody. I know that right now it's crazy with the reopening of the DMVs, and some places are doing this and other places are doing that. Make sure you look down in the description if you're watching now on the live stream or you're watching on the replay. And if you have any information at all about what's going on in your state, what's going on in your county, what's going on in the provinces here in Canada, leave me a comment, send me an email, and all of that will help me out, will help all of us out, and all of the smart drivers who are working towards getting your license. And thank you everybody for participating. Thank you everybody for the information and getting it together and collated. And it's going to take a bit of patience now that they're trying to work through the backlog and helping smart drivers to get a driver's test. And we'll see what unfolds here. And so also hopefully we can put some political pressure on the bureaucrats to see what's going to happen here, and we'll see what happens in North Carolina. And if North Carolina is successful in moving their legislation forward and moving drivers from the learner's phase to the novice phase without a road test, I think that's going to bode well for the rest of the jurisdictions that have yet to open up, that we might see that that's what's going to happen, because maybe New York, California, the province of Ontario, and other places are all waiting to see what happens in North Carolina. So we can put that there and put that forth. Okay, so really great. So Mackenzie's saying it was $50 an hour for her to take driver's test. Just one other point that I want to make, what Mackenzie was saying about $50. I did have a comment from a smart driver today that was saying he or she was in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and that before COVID-19, the driving lessons were $90 an hour, and now they're $200 an hour. So if any smart drivers hear about price gouging, please let me know. Please send me a comment or an email and let me know what school it is, and I'll check into that further, because that kind of stuff just like really grinds my goat, okay? That people are price gouging because of COVID-19. So let me know if you know of any of that, okay? All right, and all the best, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. All the best. Bye now.